Now, when you have the, did I skip 2 here? Yeah, okay. So when you have the moon in the Caden houses, not the houses of rewards, the water houses. Really, rewards means you get what you've got coming to you. What you put out comes back, and how you feel about what comes back. So in the 12th house, you're feeling how you don't fit in. I put out this energy, it didn't come back. What's fair? How come how come my parents split up, or how come they didn't, or how come we don't live where I want to live? Or there's a lot of a lot of feeling and thinking about your feelings about where you fit in and where you don't fit in. You're thinking about, you're trying to project your thinking, but it's not going out to friends and status. There's a need to live properly before you're going to attract good friends and status. But that doesn't mean you're supposed to live just for your friends and follow them. There's often a sense of not fitting in because the people around you aren't living up to how you really feel, and you don't know how to get out of that isolation. You're the odd one out. But so the feelings tend to get a little isolated here in the 12th house, and you have to transform them to a higher plane, to understanding, to a more conscientious thing. I can't afford to be drinking if I got the moon in my 12th house. I'll drink too much. I can't afford to be in bad moods. It'll affect everybody. So I gotta work to live more properly, even if that means being a little bit more alone, or being more selective about what I put out to people. Okay, so the moon in the 8th house is the rewards of the relationship. If you meet someone that's rich or poor, you might meet someone that sex is great and you're just magnetically in together, but the person has no money and you're carrying everything, or vice versa. Well, then there's a problem in the trust of who's carrying which. But since the sex is good, who's going to live it, who's going to leave it, and then it starts affecting what you can afford, what you can buy, where you're living, and the mistrust and will come back in and start affecting the sensations that you have between each other. So there's a need for that commitment, for that depth. But there's also a sensitivity for if it goes wrong or if the trust gets let down. When you put the 4th house, it's the rewards of secure. You're feeling secure or not. You have a home, you don't have a home, you have a good night's sleep, you don't. There's a need to feel secure. And there's a tremendous sensitivity to feeling secure, but the slightest little thing that makes you insecure, you're going to take deeply and go deeply in and try to express it. So this means you're inclined to share your feelings with family, with mom, with home, about security, about the past, about how this is coming into your life, how come this is happening to me, not so much about where I'm fitting in. So the needs become personal. I need this personal security. And someone else with other situations, you ask, so what? Go get it, but don't expect it of me. Or they might expect too much of the family or the home. They got the home, now they expect it has to be certain ways. So looking at the need to be secure is really strong with that sun in any of these water houses, because the emotions and the feelings get pulled out so diversified. But there's always a kind of worry. I need this security, I gotta have this, but it's not there. How come it's not there? And it can get under people's skin too. But it is kind of intuitive. But these are the rewards or water houses. Okay, so we did relation to, okay. So but by this time we've got all the houses. So we've gone through the main categories. Okay, now there's different there's different identities, and there's other keywords too. So when the moon comes up, your security and your needs and your memories are going to be tied up, if your moon's in the 1st house, to your identity. Well, to your identity, to your self-image, to who you think you are. I feel like this. You're going to project your feelings. Sometimes this is very psychic, this moon in the 1st house, especially when it's close to the ascendant, because your feelings you're projecting them out no matter what, whether people see them or not. You're seeing them and you're making them real in your life. And if it's positive, that's good. If it's negative, you're making a waste of yourself. So these keywords, the moon is an expression, but the expression, there's many keywords. These are, I consider, basic ones, but there's expression, common sense, 3rd house is brothers and sisters, relatives, short travels, has all these specific things. And you can see how the moon, I could need those things, or I have to collect those things. I'm going to have a varied number of those things, but certainly your feelings will tie up to who's traveling where, or if you're going anywhere, what you're learning, how you express yourself. It could be tied into brothers and sisters or family and how they talk to you or don't talk to you, what you learn. All of these things, even prejudices, can come up from brothers and sisters and affect your expression. So the moon is going to activate that, but you can't just think of a direct activation because the moon's going to activate that, but it affect that area. But it's also going to be collecting memories and building a sense of security based on that area. So if the moon's in the second house, it's going to be having values. You're going to need to feel secure about your resources. You're not going to want to have no money in the bank. You're going to want to have the things you want. You're going to need, then you're going to need things. And if you need things that are too expensive, how do you get the money for it? Or all these puzzles will come up to develop your values. Or negatively, a lack of values if other things come up and you're trying to make it not done. But the need basically here is to have your own money, have your own resources, and to feel secure about them. When the moon goes into so these keywords, values, it's also, usually you'll see the house of money and resources. I consider values and talent, even your own talents are your resources. So how you're using your resources, that's the moon, that's the second house in the moon there. There's a need to accumulate experiences that way. More positive than negative, hopefully. Or if it's more negative, then you're going to have to fix it just to be healthy. In identity, you're going to live a lot of different roles. Whatever you're feeling, you're going to instinctively feel, I'm this identity, I'm that, and I'm going to dress this way, I'm going to eat this way. And you get into anything, you're going to feel the need to really live it. And this is what I'm into. This is how I'm living. So it's self-image, identity. Yeah, those are the main. It's really the ascendant is the balance sheet between where you're coming from and where you're putting out in the world and whether you're happy or not. But the identity of how you're getting yourself together, what you wear, what you're putting together before you go out the door, before you say something, that's there. So it's subjective. I need to be like this. I'm identified this. I feel I need to be this. If I need to be a mother, or I need to have a home, or I need to nurture you, or I need to take care of you, it can happen on many layers, but it will be there and personally projected. So when the moon is in the 12th house, the house of conscience, you can, if something's good, you can feel good about it. You can help. Something's bad, you can feel bad about it. So if you've done something wrong, it's going to haunt you. If you don't help someone when you should, you favor one kid over another. You weren't left the isolated one in your family. The moon and all the family things and the connections come up are going to be tied up into it, but there'll be a puzzle of what's right and wrong. And often the moon in the 12th house might have a terrible family, but they learn how to be dedicated and noble and of service to people who also have other problems and to help things. And they have the conscientiousness to help other people. Once they stop feeling isolated in themselves or stop living wrongly themselves. Then you have the keyword friendship. The moon, there's a need for friendships. But friendships and enemies, there's a need to project good energy in the 12th house, not bad, so you can attract good friendships. So you're collecting friends, all kinds of people. Your peers, your social cycle, it's social creativity, how to include all your friends, how to meet everybody, how to keep up with everybody, and how to keep the bad friends away from the good friends, or all of that. And because your needs are there, you're always going to be sensitive about it and pulled into those situations. Okay, when you have the moon in the 9th house, it has the morality, philosophy, principles, long distance travels, because as you travel, you run into other philosophies, other ideas, and you're living to expand your life, to understand things. You're living to be right. So the moon is trying to accumulate experiences around morality. It's going to have personal feelings about it. It's going to build up memories around it that are, I've always done the right thing or always done the wrong thing, and who's right and who's wrong is going to be very sensitive. It's going to need to be more principled in their life than not. And these are choices, how we live each day. And the bad ones can accumulate just as easy as the good ones, easier than the good ones. So at some point in life, we grow into this and we learn to mature and have these things work. Eventually, you want all the houses to be active in your life. We're just looking at where the moon is, where you get pulled into personally. And that affects security, and your security affects your imagination, affects your values, affects your confidence. So it's important. So when it's in the 8th house the 8th house, the house of trusting other people, there's no business without trust. There's no bringing together energies without trust. So marriage is based on prenuptial agreement to protect what I own, so I'm not really trusting you with it. Its marriage is already based on a certain amount of distrust. It's going to get a limited principles of morality, and it'll have lesser accomplishments because of it, lesser rewards because of it. But when it works together, two people putting their energy together, the togetherness is better than the sum of the parts. So there's an instinctive need to share and to be together and to put our resources together. So depending on aspects and other factors, this can be very successful and very security producing, or you get married to get the place or whatever. But if it's negative, it can be very, how come I married this? How come I'm stuck with this? How come, like, the energies together never work properly? So again, the need for partnerships, good or bad, to feel secure in your partnerships or to feel insecure, to be living for your partner. If you're living for your partner too much, the partner can take advantage of you or they can be repulsed by it. So there's right relationships, but it has partnerships, relationships, sharing. That's the 7th house. But having the things and trusting the things that you share, that's the 8th house. 6th house is duty, improvement, discipleship, apprenticeship, fixing things, improving things. It's your health. They call it sickness, but it's also the place of the healer. So if you have your moon there, there's going to be fluctuating health things. You're always going to be sensitive to anything of health or any input. And there's a need to eat properly, live properly, and be always adjusting and fixing your life by fixing your habits. In the 5th house, it's performance and kids. You're going to need to perform. You're going to be dramatic about your feelings. You're going to need to show it or play with it. You're going to need to feel secure by playing with people or showing people how to play games or helping people come out of a shell and perform by coming out of a shell yourself, or by just blatantly performing. Collecting experiences allow you to perform. So with the 4th house, the need to be secure is there. The security is home, mom, feelings, secure all across the board, or need to be a mom, or you could be very together, but you always want to have a kid, but you didn't have the kid. And you have the home, but you don't have the kid. You have the kid, but you don't have the home. There's always something that come up. The moon is going to add personal feelings about these things. So when the moon's in the 3rd house, do we start with the 3rd? I can't remember. Okay, anyways, I'll just do the next two. The expression, yes, I did. We started with having to express ourselves. So we've gone around, and all the other keywords, you can add them in on the outside of circle and add other insights into them. But it's important to say, I just need to get these things. You got to think of the function of the moon, of gaining experiences, feeling a need for security, collecting experience, some good, some bad, and your memories are that you accumulate, develop your positive or negative sense of security in this moment today. And every day that you live a little bit better, you change your habits, you live a bit better, you fix the moon, you change your memories, you make it a little bit more light today, it's a little bit better your memories tomorrow. So you can always heal these things. But often we get caught in our feelings, and I gotta live this way, and we fight the need to make it better. And then there's all sorts of problems that can come from these, and complexes that come from the negative moon. Okay, so that's pretty good for the moon. You take a run at it, you do as best as you can. That's not bad. Okay, next week, we're dealing with Mercury. And Mercury in the houses. Mercury, again, it takes your mind. It's the way you think. It's the way you express yourself. You're trying to make sense out of things. You're trying to coordinate and make associations and find what's relative to what, and organizing things and planning time around things. So wherever Mercury is, you're going to be curious about. And all kinds of things will happen. So it's hard to see how the mind affects the thing, but you're going to be thinking about those things. You're going to be rationalizing. You're going to be making sense or nonsense from where Mercury is, but you'll be restless and diversified wherever Mercury is. So thinking about it doesn't make it necessarily stable. So next week, work on the Mercury, and we'll come in, we're doing the same thing. We'll go through the Mercury and try and fix it through the houses and expand our sense of how it's working. Okay, thank you. And good night, and we'll see you next week. Now it's a new moon. It's a new moon in 9 minutes. So taking a few minutes just to meditate or reflect a little bit, a couple of ohms, om. And whatever you do to pray, it's a good time to take a few moments of silence. Okay, thanks. Good night. Okay. Start recording. Okay, then end this.